welcome, Travis. We're so glad you joined us. We have a number of our leaders on. We have a broad audience of CEOs and owners and leaders of large firms and medium firms and single office owners. And so, a lot's going on in the space, and our industry is under challenge, right?
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
Well,
Diane, these are the jokes. If
Yeah.
that offended you, buckle up.
Rick
I'm just
says
kidding.
he's
We're
eating
gonna have
lunch,
fun today.
so
We're all
Rick
gonna have fun.
Rick says he's eating lunch, so no camera till his lunch is gone. Tracy said camera not working, but we know the study now. She's got to invest. There's an ROI in getting that camera.
There's a big time ROI in getting that camera going. Just throwing it out.
Well, so I was telling you, Travis, this Friday I'm presenting to 150 college professors across the state of California. They've invited me to come in and give them a overview. They teach the real estate curriculum primarily for their business tracks, both the associate's degree and beyond. So I'll share those slides. If anybody wants those slides, put a yes in the chat bar and we'll send those slides. But today we're here to talk about what you're seeing, what you're observing. You're working with and speaking to brokerage firms all over the world. I mean, I know you're recently in Mexico and you're recently in Tennessee talking to I think 1,000 agent firm there. Tell us a little bit about what you got on your mind for our session this morning.
Well, I think what's really kind of important, what I've been seeing, and I know, Mark, you and I have chatted about this, is I think as leaders, it's so important how we prepare your agents for what's coming and how you as leaders lead. And also just because it's disrupting the industry for your agents and creating opportunities for them doesn't mean it's also not creating opportunities for you. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, this may end up being one of the best recruiting opportunities you have in maybe a very long time, because I think anytime there's disruption, anytime there's change and uncertainty, leaders who lead with certainty just attract people who are uncertain. And so to me, I think we want to talk to the agents about things. We want to make sure that they're informed, that they're prepared, that they're equipped. But I also think we want to look at this from your vantage point as well and go, where do the opportunities exist for you to leverage this as part of your recruiting conversation, as part of your recruiting strategy, so that as there's this shift taking place in the industry, you become a beacon of certainty and confidence and hope when a lot of people are running around just kind of uncertain, scared, anxious, nervous. Oh my gosh, what does this mean? And so I think that's where the real opportunity lies right now from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah, and I agree. I know before we started and let the audience in, we were talking about the 3 C's that really
so
matter.
It is. And this was actually taught to me many, many years ago by a kind of a mentor of mine. And he said it this way. He goes, in sales, which recruiting is sales, but in sales of any kind, he goes, he called it the holy trinity of the 3 C's. He said, if you want to excel at sales, he goes, you have to remember the 3 C's. Clarity, which is the one that you had mentioned, Mark, like the importance of clarity. Because if somebody's confused, if they're unclear, they can't move forward. So we got to make sure that whatever we're doing has clarity. It drives certainty, which is the 2nd C, because I can't be certain if I don't have clarity. But if I have clarity, then I need to have certainty that you know my problem, that you understand my challenges, that you understand what I'm trying to do. And I need to be certain that you can help me solve those problems and those challenges, or take advantage of those opportunities. So I need clarity, I need certainty. And then the third thing is caring. Do they know or do they believe that you care? So is it possible that somebody else can bring clarity and certainty, but at the end of the day, they're like, I just don't know that this person actually cares about me?
Right.
The answer is yes. And so the more you can leverage all three of those into your recruiting process where they see that you care. Because the other side of it is, if you miss any one of those things, you can really struggle with your recruiting. Because let's say they know you bring clarity and they know that you care, but you don't inspire certainty and confidence that you can actually help them solve their problems, then they're still gonna feel like, man, maybe there's somebody else out there that can do this, that also cares and also can provide clarity. So it's when you have all three of those that you're really in a very powerful position from a sales or recruiting standpoint.
Yeah. I love it. It seems, Travis, there's kind of three camps on everything that's going on. There's the camp that nothing's changed and just bury your head in the sand and move forward.
Yeah. The minimalization crowd, like, that's fine. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's just business as usual. It's like, but is it though? Really? Is that really what you think? Or is it you just don't know how to respond? And so it feels safer to say that.
Right. Then there's the camp that, the sky's falling and the world's changing and the industry is going to end as we know it.
Yeah. The horribilization camp.
Yeah. And then there's a few in the strategic or some, in the strategic camp that are, okay, how am I going to guide myself and my agents through that? I guess my first question for you is, as leaders as ourselves, all the folks here are leaders and leading others. How do we get our own mindset straight on this? How do we get ourselves straight before we can help others?
No, that's a great question. I think some of this is going to come down to your ability to navigate and weather change, and your experience navigating and weathering change. So some of you have been in the industry for decades. So you're kind of like, this ain't my first rodeo. Like, I've been through quite a few things. And some of you are newer leaders and you're like, maybe this is the first major industry shift that you've been going through. And so what you want to keep in mind is that the industry isn't going anywhere. I think that's and that sounds very basic to say, but some people are responding as if it's the end of the industry. And I go, time out for a second. Do people still need to buy and sell homes? Yes or no? It's like, well, yeah. Okay. And is it or is it not most people's largest financial transaction they are involved in throughout the course of their life? Single financial transaction. For most people, it is the single largest financial transaction that most people will be involved in throughout the course of their life. And do they really want to go unrepresented? Not really.
Yeah.
So the industry isn't going away any more than I don't know, some of your people have been in the industry long enough to remember this, but how many remember the old MLS books with tear sheets in them?
Yeah.
Sharon's like, I do. So it's like, they were these big giant books. The MLS was a book in the office, and you'd go in and you'd tear a page out, or you borrow a page and you bring it back. And it's like that. And then as soon as the internet came around and the MLS started coming online, what did everybody say? It's the end of real estate agents. They're going to go the way of the travel agent.
Right.
Well, guess what? There's more real estate agents today than there were then.
Yeah.
So we haven't gone the way of the travel agent. And so, and it also has changed things, and it's required agents to change. It's required people to change. And my belief is that most people don't want to go unrepresented. And so the more you can start to look at this and go, okay, anytime there's change, there's opportunity. What is the opportunity first for my agents? What opportunities exist for them? And to be realistic about things, not Pollyannish about things. And also not, my mom calls herself a horribilizer. She's like, I have an incredible gift, a God-given gift to see the worst possible outcome. I'm like, pretty sure that's not God-given, Mom. So, but it's like two camps that are both polar opposites are everything's going to be fine. Nothing's really going to change. It's going to be business as normal. Get back to work and just talk to people. And it's all about people. It's like, yeah, that's fantasy. That's wishful thinking. And the other side is everything's going wrong. Both of those create problems for your agents, where I look at it and go, okay, realistically, what's likely to happen? Will this create downward pressure on commissions? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. 100% will create downward pressure on commissions. Will great agents still command their value?
Yes.
Yes. Will this mean that some agents will not survive in this industry? Yes.
Yes.
So agents who are used to the old way of doing it, there are a chunk of them that will not make the transition. And over time, will more agents come back into the industry or come into the industry where this is all they've known, and so it doesn't freak them out the same way that it freaks out other people?
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So what we want to do is we want to go, okay, if that's the truth, is that the industry will still be around, there will still be opportunities, agents will still win, some agents will leave, new agents will join the industry where this is all they've ever known, then I kind of foresee that things will continue on. And I also see opportunity, because will this create opportunities for new business models? Yeah. There's going to be new business models where there's more control on the buy side of a transaction to control your commissions at a much greater level, because the consumer is going to be ready for that. On the sell side, there's going to be more opportunity to negotiate more for your seller. And also, to me, do I think this is going to bring home prices down? Not really. No, because I don't think the seller is going to be like, well, now that I'm paying out 3% less or 2.5% less, we should probably drop the price of my house to compensate for that. Yeah, right. Like, it's delusional thinking.
Right.
But I do believe that the more you can take an approach and go, where are the opportunities? What's good in this? What's the benefit in this? What are the real challenges my agents are going to face, that we're going to face? And how do we leverage this to make more money for ourselves and for our clients and for our agents? The more you're going to be leading the charge on this and not seeing this as all doom and gloom.
Yeah, I agree, Travis. It's funny. My first slide for Friday starts with "the work continues." And
Yeah.
I was just looking at the numbers. We're on pace nationally to sell about 4.5 million homes this year. In California, we're up 8% in unit sales year over year and 13% month over month. So sales are growing, and they're growing each month into seasonality. So that work continues. So we're aligned there.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Can we all be honest for a second? It's a closed group. How many of you are a little excited that some agents are actually going to fail out of the industry? Because we could probably use a few less clowns running around.
I think you're going to get all the hands up.
So it's been really interesting. If you were to ask me, who do I think is most at risk? It's not who I think a lot of people are looking at. And Mark and I chatted about this. I want to say it was last week. And I think a lot of people are looking at that middle, they call it the middle class agent, like that middle of the pack agent, the agent doing 12 deals, 15 deals, 18 deals, in there.
I call them the movable middle is what I call
The
them.
movable middle. And I think there is some truth to that, but I think there's going to be a lot that make the turn. I'll tell you the group that I'm most concerned about is agents doing 6 deals or less, 8 deals or less. That's the group that I think is going to be the ones that bounce more. And here's why. Because they go, well, most of those people work off of referrals. Right. And most only work with buyers. And most have never had to have an honest conversation about how they get paid with their clients, because it's their mom, it's their cousin, it's their best friend. And here's what that's always sounded like. Well, I work for free for you. It's bad. It's never been true and never should have been said, but that's how a lot of people phrase it, because these aren't the professionals in the industry. These are the part-timers. These are the ones who are the hobby agents. And so what happens is they've always been like, well, the seller pays my commission, so nothing out of pocket for you. And now all of a sudden you have to talk to your mom and be like, hey mom, here's the deal. I need to make 2.5% on whatever I negotiate for you, and you may have to come out of pocket to pay me. And so this is weird. And so it's like, how do you turn around and tell your mom that on a $500,000 deal, you're about to charge her $12,500 that she may have to come out of pocket like, it's weird. And I don't think most people are actually ready to have that conversation if they've not even been able to have the conversations to get up over 6 deals a year.
Yeah.
I think that is a big chunk of the population that's at risk.
A couple comments and a question. I was thinking about an agent I worked with over 12 years ago. He was called the no bull agent, because at that time, even 12 years ago, he wouldn't work with anybody without signing a buyer broker agreement.
Yep.
And he was adamant about it. This was years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a new shift that folks are going to have to get used to. And I believe all 50 states in the next 12 to 18 months are going to require it. I think right now we have 16 states that require, by state regulation or law, a buyer broker agreement. I think all of them are going to go that way.
Well, if the settlement goes into effect, everybody's going to have to do it, because
but by the settlement, by the NAR, but the states will step in and we'll comment on some of the buyer broker agreements are under review.
Under review.
The states are going to come in. But I had a conversation with an agent. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with an agent. She was in tears because she called me. Well, they want to pay me a lower percentage than whatever she was expecting. And I said, well, how many dollars is that? And it ended up being about $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I made this comment to her. I said, I've never taken a percentage to the bank. I've always taken dollars. Start thinking dollars, not percentages.
Mm-hmm.
And when she started thinking that, she had a mind shift. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that there's value's interesting. And I think that when I think about value, what I want you guys to be cautious of talking with your agents about is what we want to be very careful of is transitioning to dollar per hour thinking. Not that that's what you were saying, Mark.
Right. But it's whole dollars. Now there is dollar per hour. I mean, but she wasn't thinking, well, man, this is $25,000.
Right. And you do a couple of those a month, are you going to be okay?
Right. She wasn't thinking that way. She was just thinking, well, it was, instead of X%, it's now Y%.
Mm-hmm.
Still $25,000.
Still $25,000. And I do think that there is kind of so for example, let me give an example. Because I do agree on some level with this, is that if you can't properly explain your value, more and more people are going to move more towards a fixed fee or a fixed cost. Mm-hmm. And here's why. So if you just look at it at a dollar level and go, okay, well, let me ask you a question. And let's just take the multi-million-dollar market, because the numbers start to go, well, yeah, of course. So let's just take, and I'm going to use simple math because I'm not that smart and I can't do math in my head. So let's take a $3 million listing and you go, I charge 3%. Okay, so you're saying $90,000 is what you want to make. Yeah. Okay, cool. So on a $6 million listing, should you then make $180,000, $90,000 more? Simply because it was priced $3 million more than the first house. That's how the consumer thinks. And they go, wait a minute, why? And why should you be paid more than the agent selling a house at $500,000? Because it really does escalate very fast at a percentage level.
That's right.
And if all you're looking at is all you're doing is selling a home, then the math doesn't math. But if here's what I can show them is that homes that I list sell for 4.5% more than the average agent at the same price point, then me making 3% on the upside compared to the 4.5% they're going to make at close, most likely means that that client actually nets out 1.5 points above my extra commission.
So
my
now we're
value
talking
relative
yeah.
to the amount of money I'm putting in their pocket, not the amount of money that I'm charging for the home or that the person's buying the home at. Because now what we're talking about is a skill set that is different than, well, I just stuck it on the MLS and it sold. No, it's that because I'm really good at what I do as an expert negotiator and a professional expert negotiator, is that you may pay me more, but it's going to be offset by how much more I get you. So you're right. You could go with another agent down the street who's going to charge you less and pocket less or risk pocketing less. Or you can work with an expert and skilled negotiator who invests in their skill set, who does these things. And now I'm partnering with you because the more I can put in your pocket, the more I get in my pocket. Now our interests are completely aligned. Where if I don't make any more by selling your house for more, then what is my job? To get it sold as quickly as possible, irregardless of how much you actually pocket. I'd rather have my agents partnered with me on some level.
Yeah, love it.
So it's all about in how you explain the value. But at the end of the day, some agents are going to go, look, if I make $50,000 on it, I'll be okay. And yeah, maybe I could have made 75 under the old model, but 50 is better than nothing.
Right. Well, so Travis, how do we,
because it's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, how do we translate all this? I'd like to go at kind of two phases. How do we translate this to our recruiting and talent attraction efforts? And then I want to shift to this thing we're going to do on May the 1st for agents that people may want to rally around as a talent attraction opportunity.
Yeah.
What should the leaders be thinking about as they move forward the next few weeks and months for recruiting and talent attraction?
Yeah. So here's the thing that I think is most important is coming back to what I said earlier. I believe there is going to be a large migration, if you will, and not necessarily migration out of the industry, though I do think there is some of that coming. But I actually think there's going to be a migration within the industry as people are looking for certainty, clarity, and caring. But more than anything, here's what I think they're looking for is certainty. And here's why. What is the dominant emotion in the world right now? What do you guys think it is?
Fear.
Punch it in chat. Yeah, Mark just spoiled the answer. Fear.
I'm sorry,
right?
I just spoiled it. Yeah.
It's okay. Fear. Fear is the dominant emotion in the world right now.
Oh.
So what is the antidote to fear? Certainty. Clarity. Caring. So as their fear and their anxiety is ramping up, your clarity, your certainty, your caring has to go up faster. So as leaders in the recruiting conversation, what you want to be thinking about is, what am I doing to demonstrate expertise and demonstrate leadership in this? So let me give you some examples of what that looks like. So a lot of companies right now have been bringing in myself and others to do training on this topic. It's the number one requested topic that I have right now is, do you have training on this? Do you have can you come do this? Can you come do this? We heard about the commission summit you ran. Can you do this? They want training on this because they're looking at it going, okay, the industry is changing. How do we equip the agents? So they're leading the charge. and they're bringing in outside voices, because let's be honest, your agents need outside voices, not because your voice isn't good enough, but because we all know this is that, it's the old saying, a prophet isn't welcome in his own hometown.
Right.
Is they hear from you all the time. And they're like, well, of course you're going to tell me that because you're the broker and you don't want me to leave. So, and how many times do you bring somebody in or you show some training and they're like, that was amazing. You're like, I've literally told you that 45 times in the last 30 days. And you act like you just heard it for the first time. But it's because we've all been there, even with my own team at an annual team event that we did. I brought in a speaker, a buddy of mine, he comes in, he speaks, and everybody's like, that was amazing. I'm like, this is all I talk with you guys about. And they acted like it was the greatest thing they ever heard. And I was like, great, whatever. As long as you take action on it, I don't care. But bringing in experts on commission negotiation and scripting, and then use those things as a recruiting opportunity. Because just because you're doing it doesn't mean other brokers, other people in the market are doing it. So bring other agents in. There's a time and a place for private, our office only, our team only events. I don't believe this is one of those times. I believe this is one of those times where you're like, we want to help everybody in the industry be better, because that's who we are, is we're about lifting everybody up. So if you want to come. We're investing in this for everybody. Like, the messaging around that is so powerful. Another thing you can do is make sure you're investing in ongoing training for your agents. So running efficient training for your agents, ongoing training for, and not just around this, but around any skill set, because as the industry evolves, things are going to be changing in terms of business models, in terms of marketing strategies, in terms of listing strategies, in terms of acquisition strategy. There's going to be a lot that is going to be changing. You want to make sure that you've got a very intentional training program that you're running in your office.
Travis, let me ask a question about that.
Yeah.
Because you work with agents all over.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to say the biggest skill set gaps that leaders need to train towards, what, obviously negotiation skills. What are the major skill gaps that these leaders ought to be thinking about as they look at their training?
So number one, more than anything else, it's teaching them that they're business owners first, not real estate agents. They are not real estate agents first. They are business owners first. How many of you know a ton of broke real estate agents?
I know a lot of them. They call me daily.
Like, there's a ton of broke real estate agents, but the minute somebody shifts to thinking about the reality is all of them are CEOs of real estate sales organizations. And the sooner they start to think and act like a CEO of a real estate sales organization, the faster they're going to make money. The second thing is understanding client acquisition. Here's the truth. Okay. Wasn't planning to talk about this today, but I'm going to slaughter a sacred cow.
Well, I ask good questions.
You do, and I love this. So here's the second skill set: client acquisition. And I have a whole training that I'm doing on this right now for groups. This is what I was speaking on in Nashville last week, and Mexico City a couple weeks before that, and all over. Too many agents in this business are order takers. They are not sales makers. They have zero sales skills. They sit back and wait for orders to show up. And here's how I know, because they say things like, well, I get 90% of my business from referrals and past clients. And that doesn't scare you? That is dangerous. In fact, did you know real estate is the only industry I've ever encountered that believes at such a high, intense, deep level that building a business just off of referrals and past clients is good business strategy? Here's why. You can't predict it and you can't control it. If I were to ask any agent who says that, and which I always do, I go, cool, out of curiosity, in the next 30 days, exactly how many referrals are you going to get and how many past clients will list or sell with you? or list or buy with you in the next 30 days? You know the only honest answer? I don't know. Great. So you're not really in charge of a business. You're hoping and praying every day when you wake up that somebody reaches out to you. And there's very little, you can't control it. You can't predict it. All you can do is hope to influence it. And the crazy thing is, and this is where I'm going to finish slaughtering the sacred cow, is not even the people who teach it practice it. And that's why I have an issue with it. They have sales teams, marketing teams, outbound teams, conversion teams, all sorts of strategies that they're running to drive people into their pipeline that are new, get new blood into the pipeline. And it's not just off of referrals, and it's not just off of past clients. They advertise, they have outbound sales teams, they have all sorts of marketing teams that are doing the things that they're not teaching. And I have an issue with that. And so I believe it is irresponsible to not teach agents how to acquire new clients, because the first bit of business to dry up in a shifting market, do you know what it is? Referrals and past clients. In fact, in a downward market, which is what we're in right now, repeat and referral business decreases by somewhere between 50 to 85% for most agents. That means if you get 10 deals a year is what you were used to getting, and 80% or 90% or 100% are from referrals and past clients, if it decreases by 50%, that means you go down to 5 deals. If it decreases by 85%, you go down to 2 to 3 deals. And if you don't know how to close that gap outside of referrals and past clients, you go out of business. That's why I think client acquisition is so important.
Yeah. So running your business like a business, client acquisition, and what's maybe the...
And then it's sales and negotiation skills.
Got it. Negotiation skills.
It's do you know how to sell and command your value and negotiate for it? Or not negotiate for it is really what it is. Like, how do you not negotiate for it? And so those are things that I just think are absolutely critical. It's why when we work with clients, we teach them there's 7 different areas in your business that if you want to grow and scale, you have to be focused on. We call it the success stack. And so all of our training fits into one of those 7 areas but the like most important, running your business like a business, which is the foundation, mindset, a lot of stuff. Second is lead generation. And then how do you convert those leads to clients? You fix that little chunk right there, it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah. And as you're recruiting and looking for folks to join your organization, those are their pain points, right? As you're looking to attract folks.
Number one pain points: how do I get more clients? How do I get more clients? How do I get more clients? And it can no longer be, well, did you call all your friends and family and tell them you're in real estate? Like, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, now what?
Right. What's next? Well, good. Well, so
talking about, I want to come back to the broker side of this and the recruiting side of this real quick. Right. Is the other thing I want you guys thinking about is that in a world where most leaders are not leading well in this transition, because at least not from what I've seen, and I'm in relationships with a ton of brokers and leaders, and I'm friends with them online and through social media, and I'm seeing how most people are leading through this, and I don't think most people are leading well. There are some really great ones, but I think this is where an opportunity comes in, is the agents in your market are looking around for leadership and guidance. So here's what I want you guys to be thinking about, is what are the ways that you can be taking a message out publicly to agents in your market where you're inviting them in. Hey, we're doing training. We're doing a mastermind on this. We've got this going on. We're going to talk about this. So make sure that this is an all skate. Everybody is welcome. Like, we want everybody here on the dance floor learning, growing in our environment, in our sandbox, learning how to win in this environment. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to find ways to sow seeds of doubt. Sow or water seeds of doubt. Here's what I mean by that. Most agents either have questions in their mind that they're asking right now about their broker and their leaders, including you. And if they're not asking the questions about their own brokers and leaders, they should be asking the questions about their own brokers or leaders. So what I want to do is, if they're already asking the questions, I want to water, those are seeds of doubt. And I'll give you some examples in a second. And if they're asking them, I want them to know that they're right to be asking these questions. So I'm going to call out those questions specifically. If they're not asking them, I'm going to give them the question that's all of a sudden going to be a seed in their brain that now they're just going to be thinking about, like, oh my gosh, I wonder about this. I wonder about this. So here's what this looks like. And here's why this is important, because it's an old kind of sales skill, is that if I can communicate somebody's problem better than they can, they immediately assume that I have the answer to their problem. So if I go to the doctor and put this in a medical context, let's say I go to a doctor and I'm like, doc, I got this pain in my stomach and I'm just it's uncomfortable and I don't know what it is. And if the doctor just goes, oh, well, you have, cancer in your stomach, but they don't ask me any questions, I don't feel like they really understood what's going on. But if they can start to ask questions and start like, is it a sharp pain or a throbbing pain, or like, oh, it's sharp pain. Is it on the right side? Yeah, it is on the right side. And if you push on the left side, does it also then hurt? Oh my gosh, yeah, it does. Okay, and how long has this been going on? And now they're starting to ask different questions, and they're starting to be able to describe my pain and my problem better than I can. And then I immediately assume that because they could explain it better than I could, and in a way that brought clarity and certainty to the situation, there's those C words again, then what I immediately assume that they know is what the solution is. So when they go, you have appendicitis, they go, oh my gosh, what do we do about it? We need to operate. Okay, cool. Like, when do we do that? Because now I believe that they understand the problem and they know how to solve it. So here's how you sow seeds of doubt, or water seeds of doubt, if they're already in there, is you're going to give them questions, and you're going to do it in a way that's very subtle. Like, hey, if you're an agent in this market, here's some questions you need to be asking about your leadership. I am an agent in this market. Oh, there's questions I should be asking about my leadership. I wonder what those are. So you should be asking, is your broker acting like a leader and trailblazer, or is, he or she letting, others take the lead right now? Oh my gosh, I was thinking about that the other day. I was wondering it's funny you bring that up. I was wondering that. I felt like my broker's been letting others take the lead on this. They haven't been leading. Or is my broker acting like this is no big deal and nothing to worry about? Because if your broker's acting like this is no big deal, you ought to be concerned. If your leadership doesn't see how impactful this is going to be to the industry, they're putting you potentially in a very disadvantaged situation.
Or Travis, if I could jump in, even yesterday, I was invited to a local office meeting of a very large brand that has regional managers and office managers and big organization. And what that office manager was saying in that meeting, if I was a leader in that organization, I would have been very concerned. So if you're running a large organization, with many you are, and we have some that are running small, but regardless, if you have multiple people, what's that message, and is it consistent throughout your organization? Because this one I attended yesterday. Point. Yeah, I called the regional and said, you might want to have a conversation, because it's
it's very true, especially because there are and this is where, as leaders of if you've got multiple offices, multiple leaders in the organization, you need to do constant head checks with all of them. Don't just assume that they're taking the corporate messaging and running with it, because even if they are trying to fake it till they make it, People are going to sense the disingenuousness of that. And they're going to go, she doesn't really believe what she's saying right now. He doesn't really believe that. He's just saying that because that's the corporate message. And so absolutely, you need to make sure throughout the organization, it is talked about over and over and over again. You're sharing the opportunities. This is why this is an opportunity. Your favorite word needs to be opportunity, not problem, not challenge, not difficulty, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Another question is, something I think most agents ought to be asking right now is my broker acting fearful or anxious about this? Or is he or she a calming voice? Like when I listen to them talk about this, do I feel better or do I actually feel more anxious after listening to this discussion? Because the number of people that are sitting through office meetings that I hear from that are like, oh my gosh, should I be worried?
Yeah, the one I left yesterday, I came like you thought the world came to an end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And worse.
And worse, right?
Yeah,
and yet these are, so if I know other agents are sitting through that and I can come in and go, there's so much opportunity here. If your broker's running scared, I'd be concerned about your leadership, about the future of your company, about the future of your office. So the opportunity to start sowing seeds of doubt, that now what that does is it starts to elevate your leadership and your expertise, and it's throwing ethical elbows at your competition. Where it's like sometimes you can just see the difference in, you're like, this person gets it, this person freaks me out.
Right.
And I want to be with leadership that sees opportunity here. Is my broker giving me platitudes or giving me training? Just get out there and talk to people. It's still a face-to-face, belly-to-belly business. All you need to do is just chat with people. And, if you chat with people and have great relationships, people are going to see your value. No, they won't. Just not true. And they may like you, but that doesn't mean they're going to see value in you. And so there are a lot of leaders giving platitudes and not giving training. So which camp are you falling into? And sowing these seeds of doubt. Do I feel confident that my broker has a plan for how to navigate this new world of real estate? Do you feel confident in your broker? Or does your broker spend more time complaining about the decision and the settlement than actually talking about their vision for the future? The settlement's the settlement. You can't change.
That's a big one. Vision for the future. Where are we going? Where are we heading as an organization?
Yeah. And people need to know that you have a vision beyond July.
The work continues. 4.5
million. The work
million
continues.
Yeah.
And here's what we're going to do is we're going to adapt. Do we know exactly what this is going to look like? No, we don't, guys. But are we worried about it? No. We're also not delusional, but we know that we are smart enough and capable enough as leaders. We're going to adapt, we're going to adjust, and we're going to come up with new models, new ways of supporting you guys, bringing value to the market, serving you, training you, making sure you're equipped, because after this all shakes out and becomes normal, 2 years from now, we're not going to be talking about this anymore. We're going to be talking about the growth that we've experienced over the previous 2 years starting today. So that's where we're headed. And and you can just come up with your own questions. These are just examples.
Yeah.
Travis, these are questions that I know agents are asking.
Yeah.
And so if they're not, they should be. So you're planting the seed. And if they're asking it, they're going, I was just asking that question. I just thought about that the other day. I'm not crazy to think that way.
Right.
And now I'm watering that seed.
Yeah, I like that. So Travis, we just have a few minutes left. As we pivot, I want to pivot to two things. One, we have an opportunity coming up.
Huge opportunity, yeah.
And then we have some Q&A, but we have a hard stop in just about, just near the top of the hour. Has this been helpful so far for folks? Give us some feedback in the chat bar and any questions you'd like to ask to Travis. But Travis, tell us a little bit about what's coming up here on May the 1st.
May 1st. So here's what we're going to do for you guys. This is something that Mark and I talked about, is we want to equip you guys and we want to equip your agents. So on May 1st, Wednesday, May 1st, it's 2 weeks from today at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, I'm going to go and do an event for about an hour, hour and a half, where I'm going to be walking agents through how to actually have this conversation specifically on the buy side of that's where most people are worried about, is how do I get my value on the buy side? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk them through the script. I'm going to walk them through how to structure their buyer presentation, how to command their value, how to explain their value in such a way that it makes it almost impossible for the buyer to even try and negotiate down that agent's commission, and how to get them to agree to the entire process start to finish. So I'm going to give the script. I'm going to, I did a whole 4 hours on this, so I've condensed it down to about 60 to 90 minutes. So we're going to hit the highlights of this thing, but I want to put it in your hands. I want to put it in your agent's hands. So if you want to take advantage of that, and here's my thinking, a couple different ways you can do this. Number one, send it to your agents and say, this is training that we're making available to you guys. It's free. There's no charge for them or for you to do this. So it's free. And we'll send out links and everything like that. But you can also send them to travisrobertson.com/NAR. Annie on my team will drop it in. She just put it down in the chat there for you guys. So you can go register there. You can send your agents there. The other thing you can do is you can leverage this as a recruiting opportunity. So some of you have multiple sites, some of you have single sites, but what you can do is you can say, look, if you can make it, come here and join live. Invite agents from outside the office. Use it as a recruiting opportunity where, hey, we're going to meet for 2 hours. Hour and change is going to be the presentation. Then we're going to have a mastermind. We're going to talk about this. We're going to discuss this. And now what they see is you bringing training to your agents and then leading discussion around a very, very critical, important topic.
Love it.
And so you become the facilitator of excellence and training and skill set, and you're just opening it up to everybody. But now you have a recruiting opportunity where, like, hey, look, we were going to do this just for our office, but we decided this is such an important conversation. We want to elevate the industry. We're opening it up. If you want to come. We just want to make this available. We'll have refreshments after. Just a great opportunity to network, connect, grow, mastermind, learn, build the skill set, and just feed into the industry. So we want to make that available to you guys to bring your agents, come for you, do virtual. You could do a virtual thing where you all hang out and then jump into a separate Zoom meeting if you're kind of a distributed office or you got agents all over an area or region or part of city, town, whatever it is. But make this available to your group. We're doing it completely for free. We just want to help the industry, and we want to help you guys by bringing you value to them. And this is just an opportunity to really, really, truly skill set develop for you and for your agents.
Love it. And I love the opportunity to tie it into talent attraction and recruiting and to demonstrate local leadership on this topic. So again, the suggested format is join either locally in a small group, in an office meeting, conference room, training facility. Invite your top 5, top 10 recruits or market, however you choose to do that.
Or top 100. I mean, come on.
Let's fill the room. Go through the training and then lead a discussion afterwards of what did you hear? What are your thoughts? And guide that discussion, and maybe end with refreshments and networking or whatever.
Great opportunity to bring your vendors in for sponsorships too. Wink, wink. Sure. It doesn't mean you have to come out of pocket to do all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to send one. Everyone's going to get a recording of this. So there's people that couldn't make it today. Those listening, you'll get the link for others in your organizations. We'll get that out. We'll get the link to register. Travis
we'll also send you an email that you guys can just forward to your agents and make it very simple for you if you want to do it that way. So that'll all come later today. So you can just send that out and make it simple.
Yeah.
So there's a question here from Darren or Duran. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to have Annie do that because we're not going to have time to get into that at this point. We're going to have to. So Annie's going to follow up with him on.
We don't have time for questions? Or we do?
Well, yeah, on the recruiting and NAR piece.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, well, good. We're getting some great feedback on the helpfulness of this, Travis. As we wrap this up, departing words for this group.
Yes. I want you to self-assess your leadership style in this. How have you been leading, and how do you want to be perceived as a leader through this? Because I genuinely believe what I said earlier. There is going to be a migration in this industry. People are desperate for leadership in times of uncertainty and times of transition. Guess what we're in? Uncertainty and transition. And now more than ever, you have an opportunity to, and it's such a great reason to be leading from the front, controlling the messaging, helping your agents and helping other agents in the market, and really start thinking about how can I become their broker before I'm their broker? How can I start to inspire them to want to make that move? Who are the leaders in my market who aren't leading well? Who are the agents in that office, and who can I invite to our trainings that we're going to be doing here? Just reaching out personally and going, hey, just want to invite you. It's just something we want to do for the industry. I saw your name come up across my desk, wanted to invite you personally. And I'd be reaching out to the agents of the people who are not leading well, and they're not hard to spot. They're either silent or they're vocal in all the wrong ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be cherry picking their agents.
Yeah. And keep in mind that others are thinking what you're thinking about you in your office, right? So
yeah,
it's going to get brutal. It's it's always been a brutal recruiting opportunity. So it works both ways.
Yeah, and think about it this way. Look at let's just say we know that in 2008, 2009, 2010, kind of in that range, that the number of active licensed real estate agents decreased in the hundreds of thousands. And that was just a recession. This is a fundamental change to how agents get paid. If your agent population in your office, let's say 25 to 30% didn't make the transition. Not saying that'll be that high, but just roll with me here for a second. Let's say 25 to 30% weren't able to make the turn. What are you going to do to put new people in? Where are you going to find them? And here's the other thing. How do you get ahead of that so that you actually train more of those people to make the transition? So let's say 25% leave the industry for a season. If you only had 5% or 10% leave, that's a lot fewer you have to try and recruit to offset the difference. And you start making your agents that much more effective. They capture more market share, and now you're doing more market share with fewer agents. It's a much smaller hole to have to climb out of than if 25 or 30% walk out the door.
Yeah. And that's a great way to end our session. With that thought, we're going to send out the recording. We'll send out the links. You'll have Travis's contact information for Q&A. Travis, I want to thank you for pouring into our group today and sharing some
thanks for having
ideas.
me, Mark. I appreciate it. And Ben, thank you as well. Appreciate you guys having me. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. We get a great group and getting great feedback from folks that we added a lot of value. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up. We appreciate all of you joining.